This is the 2025 Brewtubers Online Brewers Club Malt Experiment, Amber Ale. Thanks to our sponsors. 5 Star Chemicals. Check out their new online straight-to-consumer homebrew shop where you can buy everything from Star San and line cleaner to the new liquid PBW that can be used at temperatures as low as 58 degrees Fahrenheit. Check out their online store at 5starchemicals.com/home-brewing. Beer and Wine Hobby Homebrew Supply Store. A local homebrew shop in Danvers, Massachusetts. Order any malt they offer in any quantity you want, and if you order before 11 a.m., they'll package your items and ship out the very same day. Visit the store at www.beer-wine.com. Let's get tasting.
Cheers and welcome to Irondale Brewing. We are up to beer number 10 in the 2025 Brewtubers American Amber Ale Malt Experiment, and today we have fabulously rich amber ale from Sean at Brookside Brewing. He used honey malt, and we'll talk about that in a second. And Sean's, for some reason, didn't ferment out as much as he would have liked. So I don't know how good I'll get this on the pour can, but it came in at 3.7% ABV. So he's calling it a session amber. That's fine. I'm sure it'll be great. Sean's a great brewer. Happens to the best of us. Stuff just happens. Once you get everything in place and throw that yeast in. And I think he tried throwing more yeast in. It just it did what it did, and that happened. So he had an OG of 1040 and an FG of 1012. Coming in at 3.7, he has a shrugging guy on the label in case that doesn't come out too well. So yeah, I'm excited to try this one. Nothing wrong with a little bit lighter beer at all. Nice label. Yeah, so this says golden smooth, subtle. Sorry, the label got a bit smeared. Subtle luxury, earthy warmth, not flashy, just rich in character. That sounds fantastic. So honey malt, and he used 8 ounces, which I think works out to be about 5%. Honey malt it's kind of the American version of melanoidin malt. They kind of use a similar process. Honey malt's going to be sweeter, so more towards honey, as the name indicates, and biscuit bread, not as much, toffee or deeper kind of that Maillard reaction stuff is going to be lighter, less intense on a honey malt versus a melanoidin malt, but they kind of serve the same purpose. The honey malt just tends to be a little bit sweeter, and in some cases can actually kind of taste like honey. So I'm excited to try this one. I don't think I know I've never used honey malt in an amber ale. I don't think I've had one that I recognize as having amber or honey malt in it, so I'm excited to try this. All right, let's crack this baby open. All right, nice pop, good hiss. Hopefully the pour cam is working. I feel like it is further away than usual, but it was looking like it was in the right place, so I don't know. Wow, that is a great color. It really is, so hopefully that's coming out well. Great color, great clarity. Nothing wrong with that at all. Let's get the aroma, which I always forget to do first when I get talking. Yeah, it smells nice. It is reminiscent of the melanoidin one. It just smells like a nice, nice solid amber beer. I'm gonna let that sit for a second and swirl a little bit. Oh, and as far as honey malt goes, at least based on what I read, you can use anywhere from 1 to 5-ish%. If you go above that, it'll come through more intensely. And I think the recommendation I read said, certainly no more than 20%, and that would be a lot. And you probably wouldn't want to do it in something like an amber because it would be probably overpowering. But anyway, just to follow up on the honey malt stuff a little bit. Yeah, I do get a little bit of bready, and there's a certain, I guess compared to the melanoidin, if I'm remembering that correctly in my head, Billy's beer, there's a certain kind of brightness to this aroma versus the more kind of, in my head anyway, mapping it as a darker aroma with the more intense, Maillard reaction on the melanoidin. Compared to this is, smells sweet or bright. Yeah, and there was a little bit, let's see here. I thought I was getting a little bit of almost candy or toffee. Yeah, there's something, and maybe it's just honey and my brain's mapping it weird, but there's something candy-like in the aroma as I let it sit here for a second. But yeah, like I said, this beer, the color is great. That is a nice kind of orange amber. The clarity is fantastic. See those bubbles coming up. Give the pour cam a shot of this. Nice head on it. As you know, dissipated as I was talking, but it's got a nice kind of very slightly off white. It's pretty bright, maybe lighter than some of the others, but cap on the top. So that's all great. All right, let's give this thing a taste. See what we think. Yeah, that's nice. Let me think about this for a second. I do notice that it is it's lighter in body than a lot of the rest, because this did the final gravity is not high. 1012 is not that high for this kind of beer. I think the original gravity is probably lower. Is where things went wrong. I'll say that because he said that in the Discord about this. It's good beer. I'll get to the flavor here in a second. Or I shouldn't even say wrong. Less than what he was shooting for, maybe is the best way to put it. So it's a little bit thinner in body, and but not in a bad way. It doesn't, it's not like it's weak tasting or anything. It is, I'd say, noticeably thinner than most of the other ones in the experiment. Or lighter, I should say. Thin sounds bad. But yeah, like I said, not unpleasant. And it's, the benefit of having a little bit lower ABV and a little bit lighter mouthfeel and body is that it doesn't stick around. Some of the others, including my own. So again, we're doing this to learn. So I don't want anybody to think I'm being critical of anybody's beer, because they've all been made really well. But some, for me, as I had a few more sips, kind of hung around. And didn't make me want to go in for another sip necessarily if stuff built up a little bit too much for my taste in terms of the kind of sweetness or the heavier mouthfeel. This one does not have that problem. It's a nice light, I think calling it a session amber ale, it's great. There's nothing wrong with it. The flavors there I'll talk about in a second. The mouthfeel is just lighter than a lot of the others. But yeah, it's super well balanced too. I'm not, so I haven't really talked about I'm out of practice. I had several going in a row, and then I had a little bit of a lag for a couple weeks, and getting back into it a little bit, my apologies for struggling a little bit. But yeah, I think it's, the thing I notice most is, I'll talk about the finish first. It finishes with a nice, bright, little sweet note from the honey malt, and it's not unpleasant at all. And it doesn't have anything that, like I said, starts to build up or anything like that. So I think the honey malt is a nice addition here at that amount. It works really well. Yeah, and I think the kind of the main body of it is it's not super thin. So the mouth feels light, but the body of the beer, if I can distinguish between those two, it's not like it drinks thin. So there's a nice kind of in the middle of the as you're take it in and then swallow it, and kind of in the middle right before you swallow it, there's a little bit there's a nice maltiness to it. I don't get a lot of hops here, but there's enough there that, it kind of balances everything out. So, I mean, to me, this worked out really nicely. I understand it's like not what he was shooting for, but sometimes that's okay. And I think it's a well-made beer. I think the honey malt works well in here. To me anyway, the sweetness just comes through in the finish. And in the middle, you get a little bit of bready, like a little bit. I'm trying to tell, to distinguish if I'm tasting in the aftertaste hops or roastiness, probably a combination of the two, because you will get a little bit of that from the honey malt. Not like you would with some of these other malts, but there's a little bit of kind of that toasty biscuit thing going on. But yeah, I really enjoy that. I think I think the honey malt works well at that percentage. Like I said, I think it's 8 ounces, which I think probably works out to about 5%. I will double check that in Brewfather, but that should be correct. And yeah, I think it can. Nothing wrong with this. I wouldn't be mad if I got this out somewhere. It is a little bit on the light side for an amber ale, but if it's kind of like if you burn something and call it blackened, right? This is it came out a little bit lighter, call it a session amber. And it works well. And like I said, the interesting thing to me is it came out really nice and balanced. Sometimes, if you have a beer that you were shooting for a higher gravity and you hopped it like you would, for that gravity, and you wind up with a lower gravity, like happened with my Oktoberfest recently. I think that sometimes the hops can come out a little bit too intense because, again, you judge you're putting in the right amount of hops for what you think the malt's going to do and how it's going to work, and if it doesn't, the hops are still going to be there. Now, my Oktoberfest mellowed out over time, and maybe that's what's going on here too as well. I don't know how it tasted kind of initially, but this was canned in July, so it's had a little bit of time to mellow out, and I think it works well. It's really well balanced. Like I said, there's a nice brightness in the finish. The hops come through in the finish for me. The more I have, the more I'm noticing the hop bite. And yeah, I think it works really well. So in terms of where I would put this in the ratings, in fact, I'm going to have to do a little bit of a cut here because I do need to look at the ratings. With this many beers and I've been away from them for a couple of weeks, I need to check. So I'll be right back with you to tell you where I'm going to put this. Okay, apologies for that. Should have done it ahead of time. Like I said, I'm out of practice. So I'm going to put Sean's Fabulously Rich American Amber Ale as the new number 4. I think it works really well, and I think even though it came out a little lighter than he wanted, it's a great beer. That honey malt, even in this less than optimal maybe from his perspective in terms of the outcome he wanted, you can definitely tell how the honey malt works in the amber ale, and I think it's a great addition. Particularly, I would say if you want something, if you want to go with something that's melanoidin-like but a little bit less intense and a little bit sweeter, that works well. And even for me, as I've said in practically all these videos, if a beer kind of is too sweet and kind of builds up over time, it's less appealing to me. This does not do that at all. So it's not like the honey malt. You want to, temper your percentages. 5 to me seems like a great percentage to use in this beer. And yeah, I think it works really well. So great job, Sean. New number 4. And I think that only leaves Nick from exit 12. He ended up last for no reason other than I was just grabbing them out of the fridge as they got shoved in there. So don't get a complex, Nick. I didn't save you till in for any reason other than luck of the draw. So yeah, that's our new number 4. And we will do the final beer in the next couple of days here. And then I think what I'll do is do Nick's, and then I'll probably do a roundup just to kind of, just a short kind of roundup of all these malts and what I thought about all of them. And that way, if you don't want to watch me ramble about each individual beer, you can go there as, if nothing else, as a reference for the future. Like, hey, I remember, somebody mentioned Opal 44 and how'd that work in an amber, and good refresher to do a malt rundown. If for no other reason than I might use it myself as a reference. So yeah, so we'll stop there for this one. One more beer left. These have all been fantastic. Great job, Sean. And I'm going to go finish this. It's already half done, but cheers, and we'll see you in the next one.